Hello Math 152 students. In this video we're going to take a look at using StatCrunch. Make sure you are in the Course Content tab, then select the link to StatCrunch. Choose your first option. We are in Chapter 2, Section 1, number 23. We are not going to go number by number, part by part with your lab. You want to make sure you're referring to that technology step-by-step section in your textbook to show you how to do each procedure. What I want to do is pop around and show you a few things that can go wrong and a couple of tips. So let's say we want to create a bar plot. We have the raw data instead of a summary table. And notice I have a typo here. I'll show you where that typo came from in a moment. But this is already embedded within your problem that is loaded. Nothing that we did here. Let's just say we select our category and make sure we have the frequency. We'll create a frequency bar plot. There's a lot of different options we could select. Right now we don't need to worry about any of those. We could go back and change them if we want. But notice that typo is also in my label here. One thing I want to show you is when you hover over your bar, you can get some different information. And you can copy and paste by right-clicking, but another option is to create an image. So this creates a static image. Notice I'm not getting values when I hover, and you can right-click and copy this one. Sometimes that works a little bit better if you're having issues just right-clicking. What I want to show you is the header here was what was our problem. So StatCrunch is very, very sensitive to typos. If you have a typo, StatCrunch doesn't know what to do with it. For example, if you were to have Wednesday with a lowercase w, StatCrunch would think that was a whole other category. In fact, if we were to change it and recreate, let's actually do that. Notice I have 2 Wednesdays, one with my typo. It doesn't know how to process any sort of data entry error. So let's close this down and focus on tables. If I am told to create a frequency distribution, a distribution is a table, a summary table. If you choose your stat, tables, frequency, notice here I'm going to only select what I want and hit compute. You may be able to have some success right-clicking, copying, and pasting, but if not, you can also select, copy, and paste. It won't copy the table, but it will copy all of your data. Notice you can also do some sorting. You can sort in terms of frequencies and resort. So let's close this down and take a look at 2.2, number 30. The first thing I want you to notice is that the data set in StatCrunch does not match your textbook. I realized once I was looking around in StatCrunch that your book and what was loaded on StatCrunch don't align in section 2.2. So this one, I believe, is 32, or correlates with 32 in your text. And to get to the data for what should be number 30, you actually need to click number 28 for our incomes. So what I want to show you first of all is some histograms. A histogram is similar to a bar plot. Notice our bars didn't touch, and we were dealing with qualitative data. For quantitative data, a histogram is most likely what we want. And one thing we want to pay attention to is the bins. If you don't select anything, StatCrunch will decide. Sometimes it does a good job, sometimes it doesn't. Notice it looks like each tick mark is 5,000, and it looks like I'm starting at 35,000. So notice you can click on these, it can tell you frequencies, it'll tell you your lower class limit, and then that upper but not inclusive class limit. But let's say I wanted to adjust this. If I told StatCrunch I want my lower class limit to be 35,000 and my class width to be 10,000, I can adjust my bins. Okay, so sometimes you'll need to do this to get a better feel for how your data looks and a correct representation, or a better representation. We also run into some problems when we try to create our tables. If I just try to repeat the procedure that I did before and ask StatCrunch to give me a frequency distribution, it actually tells me, whoa, that's a lot of unique numbers, meaning I don't want just a list with a frequency of 1 beside each thing. There's not 2 incomes of exactly $39,622. That income, we want to think about it as between 35 and 40, non-inclusive. So if you turn on your binning, StatCrunch decides how it wants to divide things up. Most likely it will do what it did for the first histogram. So it creates a frequency distribution, but if this is not what I want, I can go in and make some adjustments. In fact, your technology step-by-step tells you to do this part first. If you go to Data and Bin, you can define your bins. For example, if I wanted to start at 35,000 and use widths of 10,000, select your column, income, and notice it created a second column and it tells me which bin each number is in. So if I now go and create a table of frequencies, I can select my bins of my income, and this will create the frequency table that I'm looking for. And notice I forgot to uncheck my relative frequency, so I could go back in there and edit that depending on what I want. Alright, so hopefully this is helpful in getting going with Lab 2. If you run into other problems with StatCrunch, please let me know and we'll troubleshoot those.